Thank you. I recently experienced an amazing moment of forgiveness of somebody who was really angry and upset with me, and
Coming from you or coming from them?
coming from them to me. I made somebody mad. Can you believe that? And it was like the separation kind of disappeared, and there was a oneness, a wholeness that came back out of into the moment.
Sometimes people will talk to us about forgiveness and we say we have never forgiven anyone, but that's because we've never condemned them to begin with. So we didn't have to take the condemnation back. And so what forgiveness is really is your vibration rising and you becoming whole with who you are. So that's what happened to both of you. You stopped using each other as your excuse to pinch off your alignment, because feeling good mattered more than the evidence that you had to keep yourself in a not good feeling place. I'm right about this and I deserve to feel rotten.
So in finding that wholeness in there, it just expanded me to think that what's not in the vortex, what's not in spirit? Is there anything out here that isn't?
Well, what is there is the desires. In other words, out of contrast is born the clarity of improvement. And so what's not in the vortex is anything that you've ever pushed against. In fact, what's in the vortex is the opposite of anything you've pushed against. So if you've condemned, then forgiveness is in the vortex. If you've hated, then love is in the vortex. If you have not had enough of something, then the abundance of what you feel shortage of is in the vortex. It represents all of what you consider to be the wanted from your important perspective here.
I've been coming up against these, what I call the psychopaths of my internal life, reflecting outward in situations, and I'm serious. I really want to cleanse this, to get to this place of where I'm reflecting beautiful things.
Well, let's talk about the word cleanse. We like the word clarify. We like the word clarity. And in order to have clarity, or what you're wanting to call cleanse or pureness, is releasing the contradictory vibration. But people want to approach that in a way that is harder, and we want you to approach it in a way that is easier. Either way can work in time. So the hard way of cleansing what you don't want from your experience and the emotions that you don't want from your experience is by knowing what you don't want and therefore knowing what you do want. And then every time you feel yourself feeling negative emotion about that, try to find a better feeling thought about it. We've offered a lot of processes to try to turn the direction and then increase the momentum toward what you want. And so if it's a subject that doesn't have much momentum going, you can turn it rather easily with a process or with a focus, or even sometimes with some words, or even by selectively sifting what you look at and just leaning toward looking at more things that please you. But if it's something, as you described, you use the word psychopath, so meaning that there's a lot of momentum already going toward it, then each time you try to approach it with a different thought, the dominance of the momentum of that thought probably will win, because it's like you pick up the stick that you've felt psychopathic about and you're going to lean in the psychopathic direction because you've given it more airtime, you've talked about it more, and let's just talk in these vibrational terms. It simply has more momentum, and therefore it has more influence over the thoughts that you now may think. Doesn't that make sense to you?
Yeah.
So what do I do, Abraham? I've got these thoughts that have momentum that I know aren't serving me, because I've come to accept that negative emotion is an indication that I'm not being served and that I'm not positively serving also. So what do I do about it? And we say the easiest way is to set aside a little bit of time every day where you accomplish the experience of quieting your mind. Meditation is the word, but there are a lot of people utilizing a lot of different formulas of meditation. So we want to express the simplicity of the formula that we are recommending. Anything that you can do that can get your attention for just a little bit of time will start the momentum of less and less and less thought. There are elaborate meditation processes, and we are not encouraging any of them. If you've got something that's working for you, then continue to use it. But the process of quieting your mind so that you can release yourself for this moment of quieted mind from that psychopathic rampage of momentum of something that you want to let go of. Meditation is a way to do that by focusing on something that doesn't have any interest in it. If you focus upon words, sometimes the word will trigger thoughts toward that. Even if you focus on music, sometimes the less manifested what you're focusing on is, the less opportunity whatever it is will have to ignite that old psychopathic thought. For example, in this room, this is going to seem really strange to you, but we promise you it is the path to release your psychopath. Just listen for a moment for the sound of the air conditioning. You hear it? Now, are you tempted to compare it with other air conditioners you've heard? Do you find it less or more? Or is it just a really boring thought? A really boring thought that you could give your attention to? Do it for a minute. Now, somebody might be squirming next to you or chewing gum, or you might be a little uncomfortable temperature-wise, or your foot might itch. There could be all kinds of things that are distracting you from focusing on that sound. But if you've decided that you're just going to focus on that, then you have the power right here, right now, to make that what you're thinking about. That it's pretty close to a non-thought thing to think about. And if you will do that, what you'll discover is, after a minute or two or three, and your mind will wander, go back to the sound. Your mind will wander again, go back to the sound. In a little bit, you'll feel some detachment. And your vibration, while you may not know how to measure it, is rising, because resistance only comes with thought, and now you're not thinking. You've let go of thought, so you've let go of resistance. And when there's no resistance, you know, you have this relationship with your inner being who's offering a vibration all the time, and you're thinking in all waking states. So when you're thinking, you have the opportunity of harmonizing or competing with your own inner being. But now you've quieted your thought, so whose thoughts are dominant? The thought of your inner being. And where is that thought? Pure positive energy. Where is that thought? Clarity, love, knowing of well-being. And as your vibration, because of your willingness to focus upon something that has so little to think about that your mind does quiet, your vibration rises, you join the frequency of your inner being, and you've changed your vibrational direction, whether you know that you have or not. Do that every day for 15 or 20 minutes. And it might only be 3 or 4 or 5 minutes in the whole 15 or 20 that you actually find that place of detachment. But it doesn't take much for the dominance of who you really are, the love of who you really are, to influence you. In other words, you want to make yourself influenceable, which means you've got to get in the right frequency. You know, your broadcast stations for your radios are offering a broadcast, and you tune your tuner so that you can be in the vibrational vicinity to receive. And if you don't tune your tuner so that you're in the vibrational vicinity to receive, you don't receive. But oh, there's something so wonderful. And sure, you could think better thoughts, and you could feel a little better today than you did yesterday, and a little better the next day, and you could move back and forth, and then something could happen, and you could go back, and then you could move forward again, which is the way most of you live your life. So that an act of forgiveness seems like it needs a monument placed on the spot, even though it's the most natural thing that you all do. So yes, you can improve through thinking, but you can improve so much by allowing your mind to be quieted, so that the non-physical part of you, that God force within you, can offer a vibration of influence that you are receptive of. It doesn't take very much of that before you begin noticing you feel freer. Your point of attraction is more positive, more lovely moments, more things to write in your PDA that happened today that were so good feeling, more evidence, more you in the receptive mode, more you in the receptive mode, so that your impulse to go there is so clear. And when you get there, there's something beautiful to experience. And then your impulse to go there, and when you get there, your experience is so beautiful until you find yourself in an attitude of thankfulness, 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 thankfulness. It's like the entire universe is queued up to present to you meaningful, beneficial, good feeling things, all because you allowed your frequency to rise and you put yourself in a different vibrational point of attraction. And then, oh, this is just the beginning. Then others come to you who are looking for what you are, and your conversations are meaningful, and you share your influence together, and before you know it, you are in this really steady state of knowing who you are and knowing why you're here, and eagerness about life, and just taking it as it comes. And then a really wonderful thing happens, because then you feel not guarded about things anymore, because you've got this going on. So the stuff you were guarded about just begins to drop away. It becomes irrelevant. And the more guardedness drops away from you, and the more wonderful things show themselves to you. This is what we're talking about, you being a witness as these thoughts turn to things, you see.
The HVAC, the air conditioning meditation, I like it.
You laugh, but Esther bought an app on her phone. Her grandson showed it to her. And it has brown noise, white noise, pink noise. It has rivers running. She tried the river running, and then she thought, oh yeah, this reminds me of when we wrote the Sarah book on the river, the Frying Pan River in Colorado. She kept relating. She listened to the fountain, and then she wondered if it needed chemicals in it. She listened to the train, and then she was bracing because she knew the whistle was coming. But then she found central air. There it is. Ah, central air. Find anything that feels good to you. We are really not recommending that it is the central air, HVAC, path to enlightenment. But it could be.